never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist.
Well, good morning, and it's Thursday, the 28th. Oh, my goodness me, February's gone as well. Another month older. However, interesting things afoot, I think, and I hope that by the time we reach March the 1st, that we'll be on the right track. Don't hold your breath. Oh dear. Well, what am I on about this morning? A number of things, but not least of which is our funny council and the way they behave. Just for those who have never tapped into Mirador before, and this is Mirador Television coming out of Lewes in East Sussex, basically broadcasting to the small town's battle to Brighton. But because we're on the World Wide Web, we actually hit the mark in many other parts of the world. And before I get onto the council again, let me say to a friend of mine on the west coast of Canada, Mary Halsaw, a long-time friend, and I know that occasionally she taps in just to make sure I haven't fallen down and broken my neck. Sometimes she wishes I had broken my neck, but she said, stop puffing up your ego. I just check on you and then I tune out. But let me say, Mary, that one of the things that you have done, that even though you're 8,000 miles away and a time difference of 8 hours, is you fought bravely against a useless city council in Victoria, British Columbia. You weren't successful, but you've picked yourself up with you and your pals. You settled for 4 more years of bad governance, but by the same token you're fighting, and you're fighting every bit of it and every issue that you thought was important, because it does sound from the decisions they made that they are a really daft lot. And I admire you for that, because we are starting to fight back here as well. I sent out a slightly tongue-in-cheek report of my visit to the council the other night, but some of the things that are wrong with it are quite glaring, and I've had tremendous feedback, and I hope that you get feedback. Can I suggest that your lot, as it were, start your own little broadcast on Facebook, because it starts to get people thinking. At first, it's slow to grow an audience, but eventually, people start to realise that there is some meat there, and they start to respond. And my broadcast on the meeting of the local district council for Lewes the other night has brought in a tremendous response from all parts of the world. And it's obvious that this is not just a local issue, that all over the world we are worried about our leadership. Okay, Mary, you can go off to bed now, but I thought I'd let you know that we were thinking about you and about the problems that you've got, because we've got them too. Oh dear. Now, I'll get on to the council in a minute, but a couple of other things I want to talk about. On the Facebook group Lewes Present, run by Mick Symes, there is a little chat starting about some land leading up to the racecourse which has been savaged and is looking a complete and utter mess. It has destroyed the environment for all sorts of animals and so on and so forth. And the local residents have complained to the council and to councillors about what happened. Of course, the result from the council, as usual, is pretty usual and pretty expected. Well, we didn't know about it, but we'll make sure that the owner is warned about next time. Well done. Another great spring to action by our local district council. The only thing they're good at is sending out bills with threats. Actually, they threatened to put me into jail without trial. Remarkable. I think the Battle of Lewis and Magna Carta might have something to say about that, but still, there we go. I mean, now I'm going to move over a little bit because there's a gentleman who complains about the light, and I can see it reflecting in the mirror. So forgive me, gentlemen in the light. There we go. I mean, they're becoming Mickey Mouse characters. They really are, and perhaps that's they can throw me into prison for, because I suppose if you call Mickey Mouse nowadays, that would be considered politically incorrect, and also next to libel, because they don't understand debate. They really do not understand debate. And the group that are starting the chat on Lewis present, and if you live in Lewis, well, if you live anywhere else for that matter, tap in. Because what they're talking about is direct action to the council. And this council doesn't understand anything else. It's all very well for public consultations and so on, but all it does is red ink. Oh, protest? To hell with them. You know, that really is what this council is all about. And that's what became obvious the other night. I didn't recognise all of it. This was my first time. I have heard some of the rumours. I've got my information from various sources. But the response to what I said did confirm that we have got a very secretive form of government now. And it's not acceptable. It is not acceptable. I can rant and rave, and people can say it's mad old Keith having a go. But, you know, you've got to do your bit too. And I see that on this issue that my dear friend Sarah Clues is part of it. And boy, you know, when Sarah gets going, watch out. Get out of the way. Sorry, Sarah, but you're a fireball when you get going, darling. And I really say to you, not only for this issue, but let's start to fight on other issues, because I think that we've got a council that is out of control. However, the fact is that the politicians have to go through an election on May the 2nd. And if they're going through that election, do ask every candidate, are you prepared to stand up to the executive? Because they're not running it. The politicians aren't running it. One or two of them are in collusion. You know, I use that word advisedly because that became obvious the other night. Where every time that some issue came up, they praised the executive. I mean, they're got to be the only people that are. Everybody else in the district isn't quite aware of the deficiencies and inefficiencies of the council. So God only knows what the cabinet are thinking about. But anyway, join Sarah and Mick and the group on Lewis present. Because they have got an issue, and they've got a good issue, and they are going to take it to the council, but let's start taking other issues to the council as well. God bless the people at Lewis Eye, who really do a terrific job of investigative journalism. I would love to meet them, actually. I think that they're doing just a splendid job, and the fact of the matter is they get facts where the rest of us can't. And whoever it is that is doing the investigation, they're doing a terrific job. Lewis Eye, tap into their website as well. Subscribe to them. I don't know who they are, and perhaps it's better that I don't ask. But what I do know is that they do a terrific job. Now, let's go back. Oh, no, one or two other things that I wanted to... just one thing. Yeah, I was a bit naughty last night. I had spoken to quite a number of people in a whole host of different countries in the world who are equally as concerned about their governments as we are about ours. You know, it is a global issue at the moment. But I thought, just as a little light relief, I would go on the Twitter Periscope site and just in my nightshirt and my hat say good night and don't worry, we journalists are ready to spring to action. And so I had a wee bit of fun, but then I couldn't find out how to turn the damn thing off. So there's about 2 minutes of me searching for the button in my wee willy winky and my trilby. If that's not funny television, nothing is. So just to warn you, if you see that coming up, that's what that's all about. But it was a serious intent, in as much as I think we all need to become aware that journalism is not all silly nonsense that its reputation has developed into just recently. Is we are trying hard to do the proper job. And in Boris Johnson's word and Harvard University's words, you need a strong local media to keep an eye on weak local government. And hopefully we're becoming stronger, because we're developing a unique type of local journalism. There are the people who run the Facebook groups. And although some of it is about lost cat and where can I find a decent hairdresser, some of it is also about things that are going wrong in the community. And if Lewis and I pick up on some of that stuff and do a really in-depth article, I can pick up on both of it, and I can be the mouth that roars, okay? Even if I'm just the mouth that roars and others are digging up the facts and figures, that is not a bad combination. So let's see if we can, in Lewis and the coast from Battle to Brighton, the towns, the small towns, the tiny towns that are along that route, let's see whether together what we can do is we can develop a new form of journalism, and we can start to bring our local officials to account. It's beginning. A lot of things die at birth, particularly when pressure is put on, and believe me, this lot know how to put a pressure underhanded. They're like, when guards traditionally in camps in some of the war zones manage to beat people and never leave a mark. Well, this lot can get to you without you ever being able to accuse them of it. So do be careful. They'll resist, but let's have a go. This is not a call to arms. It's a call to verbal response, because that's one of the things that is obvious that this council has forgotten. They've forgotten about debate. And let me go back to my dear friend Mary in Victoria, in British Columbia. We were at university together. She's pint-sized. There's not much of her when you're talking about how tall people are. But by golly, was she a debater. She was a debater extraordinary. She would have the crowds cheering and laughing for her totally unacceptable points. She was a terrific debater. And it was a skill. And it still is a skill that we teach our university students. We teach in schools. And when we get to councils, they try to stop it. Oh, dear, dear, dear. What sort of generation have we got? And yes, actually, I sometimes like to read and find out that some of the things that I've said are supported by other people. And there was a columnist the other day who took up my point. He didn't take it up. He had no idea that I'd said anything. Of course, we don't reach that far, or we don't have that sort of influence. So we'd be foolish to think that we did. But he actually wrote an article about this is a generational thing, and that people from 40 to 60 really, they were given an education that makes them useless when it comes to leadership. And that's true, I think, because that's the generation that's in charge right now, and there's not much going right in anything that we do. Anything at all. Anyway, the thing is that one of the things that I think that the council could stop doing is this farcical chair and cabinet. They're inanimate objects, for God's sake. And, I swear that when I was at the council the other night, some of them thought they were talking to an inanimate object. In fact, I suspect that people who are really feisty, like Ruth O'Keefe and Stephen Caitlin, when they got feisty, I think that they looked, the looks, the expression on their faces, where do we go from here? And in fact, Ruth has sent me a note saying she wants to try hard to bring democracy back to the council. So let's hope that she and that group of independents gets stronger. And let's hope a few more people stand as independents, because the party system is ruining local government. I always said that it would, but once they start to get into a cabinet, which is a secretive group, as Mr. Caitlin said, if only the cabinet would let us know what's going on, right? The councillors, our elected representatives, they don't know what's going on from the cabinet, so how the hell do we know? They are secretive. And why are they secretive? Is it fear? But it's certainly lack of leadership. Come on, guys, get your act together. And if not, come on, electors, let's get a whole new bunch in. A bunch that will make sure that we get efficient and effective leadership and that we know what's going on and that this business of secrecy disappears because it is medieval. And in medieval times, the Battle of Lewes was all about not having a small group of people governing and leading us. We want freedom, gentlemen, and there are all sorts of things that I needed to say this morning, and I can't. I'll say them on radio. Tune in to me on Arousal Radio. It's on a Spreaker, but also it goes out a little later on Facebook. So, thank you for being with me. I have to go. Ta-ra, ta-ra, ta-ra. Toodle pip. I'm in full form, full flight, and by golly, let's try hard to get change. Aha!
I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of